Unlike fanny packs, bowl cuts, and troll dolls, the sensation is back, only at Zaxby's. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich features hand-breaded chicken, Asian slaw, wonton strips, and citrus vinaigrette, and both are served with an egg roll. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich meal, for a limited time, only at Zaxby's. And skip the line when you order ahead on the Zaxby's app or on Zaxby's.com.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? Aslan's here. Corey's here as well. It's Wake Up Board Chant, presented by Zaxby's. Proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good Wake Up Board Chant. Part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. If we could also ask her another favor, maybe go ahead and rate and review the program. We haven't done the whole thing where I read the reviews on the 5th of the month, Corey, because I just, I got too many balls I'm juggling over here, you know what I'm saying?
Ew, keep it clean.
But I did look at it, and I think the last 5 have all been 5-star reviews, so that's really cool.
That sounds about right, too, because I feel like we've been bringing it lately. The football team, maybe not so much, but this crew is giving it to you daily.
Why'd you have to go there? I mean,
Well, I'm just saying,
they've been trying, right?
They have been trying. They didn't quit, so they got that going for them.
That is a good thing. There's some things we'll talk about. Obviously, with the football team, we're going to have Conor O'Neill from the Winston-Salem Journal on the program, give us maybe a little bit of a more in-depth look at Wake Forest. We still don't know at the recording of the show whether or not Jamie Newman, their starting quarterback, if he'll go or not. He injured his non-throwing shoulder in the loss to Louisville, which, by the way, it's just Cardinal Stadium now. You were asking on the War Chant Report what they call it because it's not Papa John's anymore.
And it's not Ali Stadium?
No.
Just what? Cardinal Stadium?
Cardinal Stadium.
Okay, I don't mind that. I wish more schools would get back to that. Do like, Doak Campbell's Doak Campbell, right?
Right.
Just Doak. If you wanted to have a sponsor, Doak Campbell Stadium presented by Pennzoil. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what you do.
Folks, there's something cool going down later on in the season when Miami rolls to town. It's going to be a charity event. We're all about that on the program here because our boss always has good ideas. It's casino night and celebrity bartending. The celebrity bartender will be none other than, bar none, William Floyd, national champ, Super Bowl champ. Rumor has it even friend of the program, Jeff Cameron, might be a celebrity bartender.
They were high school teammates.
Okay, there we go.
High school football teammates.
It'll be going down on Friday, November 1st. That's the night before the Miami game from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. over at Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Blackjack, poker,
Where is that?
craps.
Where's Corner Pocket?
Corner Pocket is at 2475 Appalachian Parkway in the capital city of Tallahassee,
Yeah, that
Florida.
seems about right. I couldn't remember. I haven't been there much, but I couldn't remember how.
Okay.
That was a
Yeah,
joke.
it's
That was an inside joke for anybody that knows me.
Maybe, half mile south of Cap Circle on Appalachia? On Appalachia? It's south of Capitol Circle?
What's on Cap? Yeah, about that. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Check it out. It'll be a fun time. Again, 7 to 11, Friday, November 1st. That is the day before the Miami game, which could potentially be the signature road victory for Willie Taggart and the Taggart era. If they don't knock out.
They're not, it's not a road game.
That's right. It's a home
signature
game.
Victory.
Sorry.
Period.
It'll be a big time, just signature win over a rival.
Yeah, his first signature win. But yeah, so bar none will be a bartender. that day.
Maybe that's one of his cocktails should be the bar none.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what is it? Just a slap to the face? I don't know what you have with a bar none, but
Was it a candy bar? Bar none? Was there a bar none candy bar?
I don't think so.
There was a bar none. There was a bar none candy bar. Maybe
there's a bar none candy bar.
I think so.
Well, that's a crazy name for a candy bar. Who would name a candy bar bar none? That means there's no bar there.
Well, it means it's better than everything else.
Well, that's a good point too. Still, I think it was a play on words, but it missed one of the meanings didn't click with me.
Look at that.
I don't remember that at all.
It's a candy
bar
bar.
none, huh?
It's been repackaged, apparently, it looks like. Chocolate wafer, pure milk chocolate, and peanuts. So it sounds like a Kit Kat with
peanuts in it?
Yeah, I guess,
Okay, I could get behind that. I'd eat one of those. It's a Hershey's bar none. Sorry, Hershey's. Hershey's. I
You and
can't
your
stop it. I get mad at Brady for not being able to fix his swing overnight, and I literally can't stop saying Hershey's.
And you also called Laborn, LeBourne. On the
I can't stop that. That's hard because it's spelled that way. It's hard. Yeah. Miami would be a big win. I would think it would be bigger than Wake Forest, but this Wake Forest game is huge.
Yeah. 2-point dog, so it is a sod game.
It is a sod game. Yep. Sod game on the hill. A lot of grass to choose from on that hill. I hope that's where the players go afterwards. Isn't Wake turf?
Yep.
Well, then you got to go up on the hill. You just storm the hill after you've won. There's going to be nothing but Florida State fans in that thing anyway. So storm the hill and celebrate with all your fans on the hill ripping it up.
Was Ole Miss a sod game?
I think they were favored in that game.
Yeah.
Florida and Miami are always sod games on the road, even if they're favored by 20 points. But
like 2013 was still a sod game in Gainesville.
Right, and they were favored by probably 20 points in that game.
Remember those days?
Man, they are farther and farther away, man.
Them were the days.
I want to say it feels like that was not that long. It's 6 years. That's a long time.
It does feel like a long time ago now.
No, it definitely does.
It does feel like a long time ago now. What wasn't a long time ago was when we spoke to Kendall Briles. That was Tuesday morning. We'll speak later Wednesday morning to Harlan Barnett, defensive coordinator. A couple things I want to talk about regarding the defense that you guys mentioned on the War Chant report. I don't want to spoil it all, but offensively, we got to speak to Ryan Roberts, Gabe Neighbors. I thought Gabe Neighbors, if you're going to watch any of the player interviews, I didn't listen to the other ones, but I was interviewing Gabe, so maybe I'm obviously biased. It wasn't because I asked any good questions or anything, but I thought he it was introspective and I think pretty sincere, earnest, interview from Gabe. And there was times where Gabe, they'd trot him out, and you're like, come on, man, why are you giving us the second string tight end to speak to? But yeah, he's I think he's he wants to get this thing right. And I think he said some pretty interesting comments just in terms of appreciating what Marvin tried to do on Sunday with the whole, we're going to play for this, the logo on our chest, which is the Seminole head, and pride is an important thing. Wonder why it took this long to maybe start playing for pride, but I guess, they're probably playing for other things besides pride, but now you're playing for pride at this point. We did speak to Kendall. Kendall still doesn't like me, which is fine. It's all right, Kendall. I don't hold it's fine, man. I get it.
I thought he answered your questions all right.
Oh, I'm not a babbling idiot at that. I just can't. I can't.
Yeah, you were fumbling around. You're not a babbling idiot. You usually ask pretty good questions, but with Kendall, you asked two that kind of veered off in a different direction, and you tried to tie him back.
He stares through my soul, so I get kind of nervous. I want to be, hey, man, I'm on your side. If this thing goes sideways, I'm fine with you being the interim
coach. So he rattles
coach.
you a little bit when he stares you down.
Yeah.
Well, man, you got to block that out. You got to look over his shoulder, look over his head.
Okay, I will do so. But, he was asked about the quarterbacks. I guess, I asked him whether or not it was a structured thing or if they went by feel, and he just, by feel is all he said. He didn't expound on it all, which I think kind of confirms that whole sort of interaction I saw during the game where, again, the fourth quarter, a GA comes up to Taggart, has about a 10-second conversation, turns around, interrupts Kendall, who's talking to another player, has about a 5-second conversation with Kendall. Kendall then turns around, looks at James, points at him, and then James gets up off the bench. So it's kind of, that's where they were at. I don't know if that was how it worked out in the second and third quarter, but at that point in the fourth quarter, it was, hey, Willie, we kind of know who's going to be the quarterback now.
Right.
James. Hey, Kendall, he said James. James, let's go. So that's not ideal. I kind of tried to give him a little bit of wiggle to talk about that, just in terms of, man, he's the offensive coordinator. He's calling plays. He's the quarterback coach. And he's going into a game, and he doesn't even know who his quarterback's going to be series to series. How much of his challenge is that? And he kind of laughed it off. He just said there's a lot of challenges they have to kind of face. Otherwise, anything of interest that caught your ear that Kendall had to share?
No, not really. You could tell he was out, and I saw him after the game on the field. He was really, really angry, not yelling at anyone. By the way, I haven't even talked about this. That Clemson scene after a game on the field is just nuts. Like, I'm standing there. Stanford Samuels was walking off the field. And everybody was
the second?
The third. Sorry, the player. He's walking off the field, and you've got these Clemson 9-year-old kids running on asking for his gloves. Can I have your gloves? Can I have your gloves? And the players are being nice, but they want to get to the locker room, man. They just got embarrassed on national TV, and they're dejected. And there's no order. It's just people streaming at I always thought, like, the Clemson fans ran onto the field to just celebrate with each other. Well, no, they're accosting the players. Like, hey, can I have an autograph? Will you take a picture with me? So you got kids, because they don't want to be a-holes.
Yeah.
So you've got these players stopping and posing for pictures, And look, you can hear that and go, man, screw this team. They're going to pose for pictures after getting beat by 30 points. Well, you also don't want to tell the family of 4, man, screw you. You don't want to be that either. Right. So they try to be accommodating to some of these fans. They're shaking hands. They're getting asked for autographs. They're getting asked for pictures. They're getting asked for their equipment. Can I have your mouthpiece? What are you going to do with that, dude? What in the world? So that was just a whole separate thing that I just remembered. But I also remember Bryles walking by, and he was walking by himself to the tunnel and then stopped in the end zone and turned around and just looked at everything and just looked like he was fuming. And I don't know if he was fuming because there were all these South Carolinians,
correct,
streaming about and in his face and trying to shake his hand and ask him questions, or if he was just fuming probably because of what just happened the previous 3.5 hours. But he was really mad. He didn't seem that much more upbeat on Tuesday, but with good reason. They were awful. And he said as much. He said neither quarterback was very good. Again, I wouldn't expect to know who the quarterback is until Saturday. They're not going to tip their hands. Same with Wake. I don't think there'd be no reason for Wake to say that kid is out for sure. Even if he is, they're not going to say it. And even if he's healthy, they're not going to say it. They want Florida State to prepare, so it'll be the same thing. We won't know who the starting quarterback is officially until the first play of the game that Florida State has.
Yeah, we don't even know in warm-ups because
no, they do that anyway. They'll both.
NC State Blackman was taking first-team snaps in warm-ups, but didn't play at all. And then Clemson, he was taking first-team snaps and actually started. So
right.
Willie's really laid this booby trap very nicely.
Yeah, well, it was screwed with Clemson. Yeah. Venables didn't know what to do when the quarterbacks came in and out. But Brian's talking about you asked him about Terry. I think you asked him about Terry and getting him the ball more.
No,
that was one of your. That was one of your questions that veered off. Did I ask that?
Yeah, I think you asked it.
Maybe.
No, actually, no, I did. I'm like, is it bad football to force? Yeah, I asked him if it was bad football to force it to Terry.
And he said, no, but it's not bad football. You want to get the player. And I looked it up. You want to get the ball to your best players, and he's a really good player. And I looked it up. Like, the year Corey Coleman, I think, won the Blitnikoff, or was really, he had like 87 catches. And then the next year, 2 years later, this guy named K.D. Cannon had like 85 catches. Mm-hmm. So in this offense, that's 8 catches a game. So I think Terry and he said that Terry had a few targets early, but then they just weren't on the field enough to really get in any kind of rhythm, which is true. So I do think that because it's been a talking point, because his head coach made the emphatic nod that he did when asked about it on Monday. Mm-hmm. That Tamori and Terry is going to be a big part of the game plan. I mean, it's just crazy to me to look at those numbers that those two Wake Forest receivers have. They've combined for like 16 touchdowns. Right. They're both 1,200 yards. Those two guys. One guy has 9 touchdowns and like 40 catches. The Surratt kid. Well, you can't tell me he's more talented than Terry. He might have better ball skills on jump balls. I think that's something Terry still has to work on. But there's no way he's a more skilled receiver than Tamori and Terry. They just throw him the ball a lot. So make sure Terry gets 7 catches in this game. I bet you the Wake DBs can't cover him.
Well, I think he was targeted the most. I think he had 8 targets, 2 catches, and they attempted 35 passes maybe. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he got about a quarter.
But there were 3 simple throws to him. Yeah. And one Blackman just completely sailed over his head. But the other 2 was a slant and then something else they did. I don't remember the other one. Oh, the first third down of the game over the middle. He made a really nice catch. It was a really nice throw on third down to keep that alive. But other than that, they just couldn't hit him at all. So do that. And give Akers the ball.
By the way, it's the meeting at the paw is what they call it, but they don't all meet at the paw. Clemson fans, I don't think they're all just scattered. And the problem is, I think you can.
That's what they call it after the game.
Yeah,
they don't. They're all.
And you can enter from so many different. There's so many different access points. They should just make it like 2 access points, and then you just stay in that end zone.
Well, and it's just the students had already gone, and I don't know. It doesn't even seem like it's something the students really do. It's more of like a family thing or kids. But it seems like if it's an emotional loss, there could be some ugly scenes down there where there's just we talk all about
Southern comfort, Southern
yeah. When you said meet at the
nice.
paw, I was thinking like paw as in ma and paw.
Oh yeah,
because it's Clemson. But like meet by paw. He's gonna be at the 12. He's gonna be at the 20-yard line. Meet by paw. Yeah, but like all this worry about court storming and field storming, and rightfully so. They're dangerous things because they rush really quickly, and the players can't get out of there. Well, man, you got some angry 20-year-old male masculine football players that just got embarrassed, and they might not want a 16-year-old sniding up to him and telling him he sucks. Yeah. Now, I didn't see any of that, but it's certainly available to happen because there's no security at all. They just stream on the field. But, heck, I've never heard one story coming out of that where there's been a fight or an altercation, so I guess they behave themselves.
Just good old Southern folks, man. Just being Southern.
I guess, being Clemson.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart, Kendall.
Yeah, keep going, buddy.
Bless your heart, number. Bless your heart, 1. Bless your heart. They should start Horinbrook. I think we kind of hinted as much on the Tuesday program, just because Horinbrook did not play as poorly as James did.
He did not play well either.
He did not, but he did not play as poorly as James did.
No, he didn't. And, when you think about what you've seen from Blackman, like he started to fall apart. In my opinion, he started to fall apart before he got injured in that Louisville game. And it was the same thing we had seen. Those last 2 drives against Virginia, what you'd seen at Boise State near the end. When he gets in those funks, it's hard to break him out. Now, usually he has a stretch where he's really good, but he didn't in that game. He was horrid from the start. He was dropping snaps. Yeah. I think the very first snap of the game he dropped. He just inexplicably dropped. He just looked rattled. And I'm not saying he's a rattled kid. He might not have been rattled.
And Kendall said that the emotion, he doesn't think that the emotion he doesn't see any negative from that. He said that on TV.
Yeah, I mean, just – you could be Jameis Winston was emotional. I mean, you could be emotional and be a good quarterback. Maybe not at that level. He's not a good quarterback, but in college he was an incredible quarterback, and he was as emotional as you could be. I just think, man, he gets into these funks and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. And again, I'll equate it to watching a son struggle with a swing, and he gets into a game and he's gripping the bat so tight, man, he doesn't look anything like he does in practice. He wants it so bad. I know it's at a much higher scale when you're talking about college football, Division I college football, but you see that, man. Everybody listening to this can understand if you put so much pressure on yourself that you're squeezing the life out of the football, you're going to struggle. And he just struggled in that game. And, yeah, I would think you go with Horinbrook. I don't think it much matters, really. I think they're both similar. But I don't know, man. I was going to say I think Blackman could lose you the game more than Horinbrook could. But I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if that's fair. Horinbrook made a terrible interception in that game, and you've got to score points. So either way, I don't really care who they start, but start him. He's your starter. Don't go in with a plan to play the backup. Play the backup if the starter struggles. That's my 2 cents on it.
Thick and thin, right?
Thick and thin. Thick and thin. Not thin and thick. Thick and thin.
They did surrender 225 yards rushing to Louisville, over 5 yards per carry. So, I mean, I think maybe more than anything is because Willie, had that emphatic nod that you were talking about, and we asked Kendall about Terry. I think more than anything, though, I think maybe this just is like a return to Smash Mouth or Gulf Coast offense kind of a thing. I think we're kind of, in some ways, are we not figuring out that no matter how much Willie tried to sort of parrot what he saw at Baylor that summer he went there and sort of shadowed and watched some practices of Kendall and Art, that his variety or his, whatever, the cousin strand of that offense is different than what I think Kendall wants to do. And I think this is an opportunity for Cam just to kind of go off and lean on Cam. And if you do start Horinbrook in this sort of situation, hand off the ball, man. Just like Wisconsin, man. Hand the ball off, and we'll ask you to make a couple throws, but the throws are probably going to be a lot more simple to read, and you got a lot better athletes you're throwing to, and we're going to probably going tempo, and there's going to be blown assignments, and you'll be able to know exactly who to go to because it's going to be obviously apparent. So I think it kind of all hinges off Cam more than anything.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they start. I think our quarterback questions, though, will be over after this. Yeah. Thank heavens. We're only in Game 7. But I do think whoever starts this week is the starter, as long as they play well. And again, that's a big if. I mean, it's a big as long. But if you start Blackman and he plays well and you put up 35, 38, 40 points, he's going to start against Syracuse. I just think that's the reality. I think we're done with this. I think we're done with we got to get Horinbrook some reps. But the reason I think it could be Horinbrook, and I'm certainly not politicking for him, is number one, he didn't play at all really after the touchdown to Terry and then the next drive when they got the ball at the 3. And neither did Akers and Terry. Almost as if Taggart didn't want his core guys to be out there in a 40-point game on those last 3 drives. That was my thought. Is like it made no sense to not go back to Horinbrook at least for one of those last drives in the fourth quarter, unless he's your starter, and you've made that decision and you're trying to protect him. So that's why I think it'll be Horinbrook, and I just think Blackman was so bad, even worse in my opinion than Horinbrook on Saturday, that you really wonder where he is at mentally. Because if you start that game with 2 3-and-outs, or if you start that game with only 3 points in the fourth quarter, you might be too far gone again to have a chance. You hate to say that because you're playing Wake Forest, you're not playing the Patriots, you're not playing Clemson, but Wake Forest has a really good offense even with the backup, and your defense hasn't proven it can get stops. So if it's a shootout, you got to have trust in the guy that he's not going to be, just in a funk. And to me, Blackman looks like he's more in a funk than Horinbrook. But neither one of them are great, and they both play behind a subpar offensive line. So we forgive them.
I'm not as down on the offensive line as everybody else is. I think if Juwan can come back, I think that really does help out. I think he's an upgrade over Abdul.
It gets you probably 10% better, I would say. Because he's not good either,
right?
But he's certainly better than Bello. Yeah. He's an upgrade, and if you upgrade, you should be 10% better.
Listen, they couldn't run the ball against Clemson, but there was plays to be made in the pass game, and they just didn't make them. Alex didn't make them. There was more that James missed than Alex missed.
Yeah, most of them scrambling, like moving out of the pocket, but Blackman twice moving to his right, and Horinbrook kind of pointing and moving to his left. Those pockets were holding up a little bit. Yeah. Like they weren't having to run for their lives on those particular plays. But you also get why you get a little gun shy. Right. And you start seeing ghosts if they're always in your face after 2 seconds.
I think the reason they let Blackman finish the Clemson game, though, I don't think it was preserving Alex. I think it was more of just like let James learn, like let him work through whatever he was dealing with. Like let's try to get everything out of him that we can, just any sort of bad energy. I think James will probably start just because.
Then start him. He's your guy.
No, I think.
This was the point I was actually getting to, and I forgot.
Why not just say it then?
But also, what's been the deal with trying to get Horinbrook reps? If you don't eventually want him to get more and more meaningful reps,
be a man of your word. So you don't get a bad rep, maybe in terms of recruiting kids. I mean, he tells a kid that. Hey,
but game 4, right? Like, it wasn't that game 4 that they finally gave Horinbrook a chance. Like, it wasn't immediately. It wasn't going in the Boise game. Hey.
Well, they scored 31 points in the first half against Boise. They scored 40 points against Louisiana Monroe. Virginia was on the road. The
reasons, sure, but I'm just saying they must not have been. If you were really happy with your starter, you would, no matter what you had said, you wouldn't just be in the middle of the first quarter be getting reps for a guy that hit. What's the point? Like even when Florida State did that nonsense Kentucky Derby stuff in the 90s with Cannell getting a snap. It was for the future because Cannell was going to be your quarterback. This would be getting Horinbrook ready for 2020 just makes no sense. I feel like
he won't be here. He can't
exactly. So that's why I feel like the reason they've been doing that is because eventually they think he might be the guy. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? It's not going to be Jordan Travis. It's not going to be Jeff Sims.
I promise you, everybody, I will ask Willie on Thursday if Jordan Travis is being looked at as an option. A lot of people keep tweeting and posting on the message boards. Everybody's over James. I'm going to still defend the kid a little bit.
It's a tough game. It's a tough game to watch for him.
It was.
He's had some nice moments this season, and we both don't. Neither one of us thinks he's awful. That's a really tough ask and a tough place to play against a really good defense and a bad offensive line. That's an awful combination. He just did not. What would you say? Rise up his level of play at all. He kind of, went backwards.
One thing I wanted to say before we bring on Conor O'Neill from the Winston-Salem Journal is, you guys mentioned on the War Chant Report, we'll talk to Harlan later today, and we'll bring it to you on the show tomorrow. But, Willie talked about communication and missed assignments being a problem, whether it was receivers running wrong routes, whether it was, defensive assignments sort of being missed. And you guys mentioned on the War Chant Report, why are we here year 2, 18 games deep, and we still don't know assignment? Georgia lost the game in South Carolina. That was their defense's fault. But, I really don't want to sit here and act like I'm defending the defense because I'm not. But, we have this whole sort of thing about the offense where it's like, hey, man, if James goes cold, we're talking about this like 2-3 weeks ago. If James goes cold, bring in Alex. It's like, well, what? So he scores 28 points, and then he starts stalling out. He's gone cold. It's like you don't score every single drive. Well, defenses don't stop teams every single week, every single drive. Like, is that not part of every defensive struggle in a game? Is that when they do allow a score on a possession, it probably is because they did not properly know their assignment, or is it just a matter of that the offense is executed better than them?
Well, then it started explaining it better.
Okay.
If you're allowed to just say they're better than us, they were better than us. But because that was the problem, you heard that about gap control and alignment the first 2 weeks, especially the Boise game.
Yeah.
So when you hear that after the Boise game, because you're like, how in the world did we give up 640 yards and 400 yards passing and 200, two freshmen in the back, true freshmen in the backfield? Well, alignment, weren't aligned right. Yeah. Okay, well then in week 6, what happened? Because you'd been better against the run. Right. What happened this week? Well, we weren't aligned and we weren't
teams
communicating
maybe
well.
attacking you different. Maybe they're, that's the thing. He's had to make things so simple that maybe, Clemson saw that there was a certain look, a certain front that they just.
Yeah, I think, that either no matter what the reasoning is and no matter how Taggart spins it into alignment or communication or whatever, the fact of the matter is Barnett did a terrible job in that game, has done a terrible job for multiple games, but by and large, Kando's supposed to be out there. Janaris is supposed to be out there. Jaden Large Woodby is supposed to be out there. You were playing Adonis Thomas, Amari Gaynor, and Josh Brown trying to set the edge in that defense. Man,
against that offense.
That's bad news.
Yeah.
And Clemson is smart enough to realize, okay, we're going to run a little more off tackle. I think Willie even said that. They did a little more outside zone read or outside read off the tackle, and they completely exploited Florida State's lack of depth at linebacker. I think Kando and Janaris. I'm never going to do it. I want to say Janarius and I want to say Janaris. So I split the difference and say Janaris.
Just say J-Rob.
J-Rob. Those are good players. J-Rob specifically,
yeah,
I think, is good.
Yeah.
He's a good college defensive player. So they missed him a lot in the first half. And I think Kando had the potential to be that kind of guy, too. He was having a good game against Virginia.
Turning it on, yeah.
So those are two big losses. And they're huge specimens. They're just big dudes. And you're replacing them with guys that are not that. So I think that – but they weren't coached up well either. So – it's injuries and ejections are bad news, but they don't get a lot of benefit of the doubt because of what happened earlier in the season.
Yeah, that'll be my charge. Try to figure out ways to ask some good questions out of Harlan, get some answers from the defense. So, I wanted to go on a soliloquy about the Nuck If You Buck drill. Somebody called me out on War Chant, but I'm not going to. We're going to take a break, though. We'll be right back.
At Birch Orthodontics, they know what a difference a beautiful and healthy smile can make in your life.
They take the time to get to know you and perform a thorough exam so that they can make an individualized treatment plan just for you or your child.
They use the latest technology in a warm and comfortable environment. So whether you are interested in traditional metal or clear braces or clear aligners, they can give you the smile you deserve. They know investing in your smile means investing in your future. And at Birch Orthodontics, they are honored to be a part of your smile journey.
Serving Tallahassee for 16 years and supporting the Knolls since forever. Check them out at birchorthodontics.com. BURCH orthodontics.com. Welcome back to Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan. Corey's here as well. And we also have a guest. We have Conor O'Neill from the Winston-Salem Journal. Follow him on Twitter. Conor with one N, O'Neill, two L's, WSJ. It's not the Wall Street Journal, Corey thought. It is the Winston-Salem Journal. Conor, thanks for taking some time out for us. I know you're not a detective, but you're a journalist, and I don't know how many answers you have for this one right now, but I guess the big looming question for Florida State as they head into this game against Wake Forest is whether or not Jamie Newman, the quarterback, would be available for the game. Maybe a lot of fans, too, might have been coming back from the Clemson game. I know we couldn't watch because it was on the ACC network. It was a non-throwing shoulder injury, but what seems to be his status right now heading into the middle of the week?
Yeah, so actually just got back like an hour and a half ago from Wake's weekly press conference, and so Dave Clawson said it was a day-to-day situation. He was, I believe, intentionally a little coy with his wording when asked if he practiced today. He said he was out at practice, which confirms that he was present, but doesn't confirm anything about, whether he did any throwing, ran the offense, or just sat on the sideline and watched with a sling on. So it's not too clear. I mean, my my gut feeling is that it's going to be Sam Hartman on Saturday. And it goes back to, 2 years ago when Wake Forest had John Walford, had a second-team All-ACC season, led the league in pass efficiency, and really had a stellar senior year. One of the most important games in that season was the Week 6 game against Clemson. John was not 100%, and Wake benched him for that game. Just basically gave him that week off, and then they had the bye week the next week. So he got 2 full weeks of rest and came back and had a second half for the ages for Wake Forest standards. And I think that's what they're going to look to do with Jamie. I think they're going to give him this week off. He would be available in an emergency situation, but try to get him through this week, try to get him to the off week next week. And then Wake's got 5 games in November that they're looking at trying to, really turn this into a special season, and having a quarterback at 100% like Jamie Newman for that run would be crucial for them.
Well, and it's not his throwing shoulder, but he's also such a good runner that, you can't – I would think they'd be hesitant to have him risk getting tackled on that shoulder and then him being out for the year. Like, you don't want to do that. So people hear, oh, it's his throwing shoulder. It's not separated. So he could play, but he's such a dynamic threat, and that's such a big part of their offense, right? Him running the ball, and you wouldn't want to risk it.
Even with the long mesh point, he takes hits that no other quarterback in the country takes when, you've got the unblocked man crashing down, and when he hands the ball off, he's setting picks, basically. He was a former basketball player, so it makes sense, but he uses his 230-pound frame to shield the running back when he hands off. And I mean, he's taking hits like that. He is a good scrambler. He runs through arm tackles. I mean, just the wear and tear on that shoulder in a game where you would even be trying to protect him, it would just limit what Wake wants to do offensively too much. They'd have to change way too much. Just the more you talk about it and the more you think about it, it just makes so much more sense for them to give him this week off, unless he can, have some Russell Wilson miracle water or something and get to where he's 100% by Saturday.
And it's not like the kid backing him up is an inexperienced guy. I think he started down here last year. Hartman did, and he played really well in that ridiculous game you had to watch on Saturday night. I can't imagine when you were done leaving that press box Saturday night. When was it? By the way, what was your deadline on Saturday night?
Well, we're fortunate here, and I don't know how long it's going to be like this, but I was able to file a story right at the buzzer, which was about 11:30. It was a 4-hour and 4-minute game. It's, I think, the longest game that Wake has ever played, other than the Belk Bowl of 2 years ago when it was 55-52 against Texas A&M.
Right.
But I was able to file a story at the buzzer that was just a hodgepodge of what happened, and trying to sum up as best I could that I had written during the game, and we got it in the paper, and then come back up and write a more of an in-depth analysis story. And I wrapped that up around 2:30 and was leaving the press box by about 3 after having a little bit of an in-depth conversation with the SID there.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, this is the glorious life of a sports writer, especially a newspaper writer these days. I can't even imagine what the game story was like. Like, you thought you knew that Louisville was going to win comfortably, so you'd probably written the most of the shell. And then the fourth quarter happens. You're like, oh, man, it's coming to come down to an onside kick, and then you have to rewrite the lead. And I can't even imagine. I'm sure it was good. I'm not besmirching your work, but those are the worst, is when you think the game is going to go one way. And Louisville still won, but holy moly, the whole game changed, and it turned into like an ACC record type game.
Yeah, I hate instant replay. I hate replay reviews. I think they should be abolished from all sports other than tennis, because I think tennis is the only one that does it correctly and doesn't take away from the flow of the game,
right,
and doesn't grind everything to a screeching halt and just strip teams of momentum. But at the same time, it's kind of nice to have those reviews when you're writing a running story like that, because you've got an extra minute or two to kind of sort everything out in your mind. I mean, I had the alternate lead written where Wake recovers that onside kick at the end, and Sam Hartman has the ball on, gosh, with the personal foul, it probably would have been their ball on, I think, about the 25 or 30 of Louisville.
With like a minute left.
Yeah, with a minute 10 left, you're looking at, hell, the way that game was going, there could be 2 more scores before regulation
That's right,
ends.
Louisville just would have run the kickback.
Yeah. So, yeah, oh, man.
Good times.
So I've now
hoping...
covered the second, third, and fourth highest scoring ACC game. And I think
good,
the only
man.
other
Good.
person who can say that is Jody McCreary with the AP.
There you go, man.
Because,
well, hopefully we'll get number 1 this weekend, right? We'll have like a 75-70 game. Hey, so
yeah, and my eyes will be left in the press box.
Man, I can't even imagine. That game would end at 1 in the morning. I wanted to ask you one more thing real quick about the 2 receivers, man. Surratt and Washington. I was just looking at their numbers from last year. You know, Surratt had 41 for 581 and 4 touchdowns. Those are good numbers, especially as the number 2 guy behind Dortch. But Washington was 20 for 243. Hinton, I think, had 6 catches. Did they all season in August or in the spring? Were you hearing like, hey, man, these guys are awesome. Like, these guys are going to be maybe the best receiver combo in the conference. Like, was that the expectation going into this season, what these guys have done?
I think that was part of the expectation. I think the jump with Sage Surratt was pretty expected. I mean, he had an up and down first year playing last year. He looked really good at times. He was hobbled. He never missed any games because of it, but he was hobbled by a quad injury in around the 5th, 6th, 7th games of the year, and that's why his stats kind of drop off and then pick back up the last 3 or 4 games. Scotty Washington in 2017 looked like he was a breakout. He was a breakout star. I mean, as a redshirt sophomore, I think he was like 45 catches for 700 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. Last year, in fall camp, about a week and a half in, he dove for a ball and like separated his shoulder, AC joint separation, and he just was never the same. He missed the first 2 games. He came back in the 3rd game against BC, and I think the 7th snap of that game that he was in for, he tried to make a block and messed up his back. So then he had a back problem. He got shoulder surgery in the offseason right after the bowl game and missed all of spring. So in fall camp, he's running around again, and it's like, oh man, Scotty Washington is a 5th-year senior. He didn't have the season he wanted to last year. What's he going to do? And he was just, for me, he was one of the biggest mysteries of what to expect. And I mean, this year the numbers kind of tell one story, and he's had drop problems. So I mean, his catches, yards, and touchdowns could all probably be a tick higher if he had stronger hands. But he does have strong hands. It's a confidence factor with him, and I mean, he's certainly playing with a lot of confidence now.
Conor O'Neill from the Winston-Salem Journal joining us here on Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. Conor, for the longest time, David Clawson, or David Clawson, like I'm his father or something. Dave Clawson kind of had to do the smoke and mirrors with the offense, and he had a really good defense to lean on, especially with Mike Elko being his coordinator. Now it seems like he has that great talent on the offense. We talked about 2 quarterbacks in Newman and Hartman, and obviously Scotty Washington and Sage Surratt out wide. Defensively, I know Carlos Basham's a guy that kind of flashes. Justin Stranad is another talented player, but defensively, what's been the bugaboo for them? It seems like is it a youth thing? Is it a new scheme thing? Because we're seeing 68.5 is kind of the over/under being listed on this game, and I just can't. It feels like this is going to be a race to 40 with the way Wake's defense is played and the way that Florida State's defense kind of struggles with covering talented wide receivers. But defensively for Wake Forest, I mean, what are some of the things that seems to be giving them problems?
Yeah, they just, they had A.J. Dillon splicing through him a little bit, and Anthony Brown had some success. They haven't gotten the pass rush that they got for those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th games of the year. Rice, North Carolina, and Elon. I know you look at, Rice and Elon are not by any great shakes, great offenses, but the way Wake played against Elon was good enough to say, like, you know, if they were even playing an ACC team today, they'd probably put up some decent defensive numbers in that game. They're not getting the pass rush that they got with just a 3-man rush and a fourth spy. So they're having to try to create more pressure with a blitz, and it's leaving things open on the back end. And if nobody gets home, then, you know, it's one-on-one coverage. And Wake has 3 corners that primarily play, Asang Bassi, Amari Henderson, and Jasir Taylor. And Jasir Taylor and Amari Henderson are really aggressive and fight on double moves. They take risks, and Wake did not want them to take risks against Louisville, because Louisville's receiving trio of Tutu Atwell, Seth Dawkins, and Des Fitzpatrick are pretty much as good as anybody in the ACC, with the exception of Clemson. And I mean, they burned them. There's no other way around it. They just burned them.
Connor, we need to start a segment where we have you guys ask a question, I feel like. Corey, do you have a question for us about Florida State that we can answer? You know, it's only fair, right? We always ask you all the questions.
Yeah. What in the world does quarterback look like? Because I'm trying to keep track of the Clemson game, and I'm trying to also get ready for Wake's game. And what happens there? Like, is it Blackman when he's healthy? Is it Blackman when he's not throwing interceptions?
We don't know, Connor. Nobody knows. Not even the offensive coordinator really knows. I mean, we asked them. You know, when they played Louisville, the plan was to get Horinbrook in on the 3rd series of that game, and I think James Blackman actually had 2 touchdown drives, and he got pulled, and then Horinbrook comes in, throws a touchdown, but then he gets pulled. So against Clemson, it was the same thing. 3rd series, I think Horinbrook comes in, and then after that, it was kind of touch and go, and it was all based on feel. But they both played pretty lousy. We kind of agree, both Corey and I, most of the fan base, that Horinbrook was less lousy. I mean, he wasn't better. He just wasn't as bad as James Blackman. From judging what Taggart did last year, he stuck by DeAndre Francois the entire season, so we kind of feel like he'll probably start with James Blackman again. But Horinbrook has just, you know, had some better moments, and he has had less bad moments. You know, that's where we're at right now in terms of talking about the quarterback. So I think that Blackman will start, but ultimately Horinbrook will probably finish it out.
What a year for quarterback situations in the ACC, right? Like, you got Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be the just surefire golden child, and he has been underwhelming to an extent. I mean, I didn't think he was going to come out and throw 5 touchdowns and 300 yards in every single game, bang, bang, bang. But
he could have. He could have last Saturday. Connor. Believe us, we were there. Folks, check out his work, Conor O'Neill, for the Winston-Salem Journal. Follow him on Twitter, Conor with 1 N, O'Neill, 2 L's, WSJ. Conor, thanks so much for your time, man. Have a fun one. Hopefully you'll be out on deadline, and it won't be 60-50 or whatever.
Yeah, thanks. I'd take a 42-38 game if it ends before 11.
All right, we shall see. Thanks again. Conor O'Neill from the Winston-Salem Journal joining us here on Wake Up War Chant. For Corey and Connor, I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch up with you all tomorrow.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.